Okay, we're live.
All right, boys. Welcome everybody to the ninth podcast. Um, folks. The time has finally come for us to hop straight into the regular season. A time that has been awaited by many, and personally by all the staff, all the members, all the fans. The Daytona 500 weekend here at RRL. I'm here today, joined by Doodle. Here is my
Hello.
companion for today. Today's gonna be
Don't
kind of
forget about me.
sorry, and
And
Jason.
fast. Or Jason.
Jason,
My bad.
Jason.
Not fast.
So if we might as well just go ahead and hop straight into it. So we're gonna go ahead and start off with the D3 duels race recap. Of course, we didn't have a podcast before the duels, but because it was kind of with the speed weeks. But anyway, let's go ahead and hop in. Let's go ahead and start off with the D3 duels. So the D3 duels, and I'll start it off pretty casual. The thing was the D3 overall was a really clean race. They had the draft was shortened to increase better racing, and it really showed out. The drivers were just continuing to hold single file racing pretty much the whole race. Besides, no pits caused the whole ordeal. But I want to go ahead and mention something that happened early in the Arca duels was the 62 of dude, of course, you and the two
Mm-hmm.
car of
Yeah.
Korean. You both drive for JR Racing, so I just want to point that out. You guys had some really great teamwork. Like in the beginning, we saw you guys just pushing each other the whole first, I believe, 10 to 15 laps there. But pit strategy came in, and you
Yeah.
guys fell to the back there. But um, I think
Yeah.
that what you guys were doing is a really good example of like how teams work together, get each other to the front. You guys were pushing each other. I believe Korean was just pushing and pushing and pushing. You had the lead for about 10 to
Mm-hmm.
15 laps, and that was pretty impressive, until of
Yeah.
course what I said before, the
The
caution came out, and draft was pretty hard to catch up to the leaders again. So uh,
we eventually caught up on the last lap, and we had a draft train with the six, and after the pit stop, I got pretty far away from Korean. I pretty far in front of him, so I dropped back to him, and we eventually made it up, which I thought was surprising because in the beginning of the race, the people like in the behind us, behind the leaders, were pretty far behind, and they could not catch up. So I was sort of surprised that we were able to catch up again, and tried to make a move for the win, but didn't. Wasn't
you know,
successful.
it is what it is, I guess. But yeah, continuing, of course, they had the pit cycles, which eventually put number 15 of Known and the number 20 of, I believe, Dog in front.
Hmm.
And we saw kind of a switch. So Chevy, the 62 of Doodle and the 2 of Korean were out front for the first 10 laps, just pushing each other. And it kind of switched to Toyota segment in the last laps where it really mattered. Number 15 of Known and 20 of Dog, both driving for Dynamic Motorsports. They were out front in the right place, the right time, and just had a pretty good gap. They were just pushing each other to no was just getting pushed by Dog all the way to the win, and eventually they caught up, but I guess it was not enough, and the 20 of Dog was able to push Known all the way to victory. So that ended Duel one as Known's victory.
Hmm. And
Oh yeah,
yeah, moving on to Duel 2, there's only four or five drivers, and I would say there's a lot more contact, and they were a lot closer together. But
yeah,
it also led to a caution, and then also a wreck across the line for the last lap. So it was a pretty eventful race, and there was one caution in it. So
yeah. I agree with you. Prior to Duel Two starting, we had a couple extra minutes for the developers to up the draft a little bit to have the ability to drivers to catch up to the field, get with the racing.
mhm.
So after that was added, Duel Two of the Arc series begun, and it was only four drivers due to most of the drivers participating in Duel number one. So Duel Two started out pretty calmly, went green for a couple laps, And it was just all around battling. It was number 45 of Timmy, the number 24 of Declan, the number 03 of Spongy, who at the time did not have a scheme, and I believe it was, I do not remember, but it was red. I'm not sure, but it was basically a group of four drivers. So it
Yeah.
was there was a lot of contact, and the drivers. Uh, Again, I'm restating it. It was a lot of contact. Because the draft, of course, had been up, you know. So they continued racing, right, and eventually some incident happened with drivers making contact, and it caused the caution to come out. And as you know, just as a overseer, of course, I was officiating that race, but kind of looking on that race, it was pretty surprising. You had all of these cars in Duel One racing pretty clean. Again, of course, it was a draft, but still, you had all these cars in Duel One racing clean, and we had a caution-free race. Um, and now Duel Two, we have only four drivers in the field, and we have a caution. So I guess I don't know, it might be luck, but they had some of the more aggressive drivers, I guess, in
Well, I
aggressive
mean,
racing.
I don't know. I thought the racing was. I think Rock was. I don't know. If I was Rock, I would be pretty disappointed because it wasn't like. It wasn't very clean racing. It was sort of dirty. They didn't. I don't know. They didn't race at their like. They didn't. I don't think they took it very seriously because they were sort of. They were not very clean, and I was just sort of disappointed in that race.
I mean, yeah, it was four drivers, and I want to point out there was a lot of aggressive racing by the 24. I would like to point that out. I believe he caused the first caution there. So
Hmm.
looking back on the replay, I believe the first caution was caused by. Let me go and look back on this if I can find it. The first caution was caused by. Give me a second here. I believe there was a one car wreck. The rule that a caution comes out by, I believe, one-fourth drivers there. One-fourth of the drivers have to wreck for there to be caution. And sorry for the voice crack there, but there was one driver out of the four, so I believe that brought out the caution. I may
Um,
be incorrect, but
we have someone outside of the booth room.
just that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. But anyway, I caused the caution. Of course, pit cycle happened, and after the pit cycle, the number 45, I believe, of Timmy was out front. So then they went back green. Timmy leading them to the green flag after the pit cycle. Um, we went green, of course, and just pretty much it was a smooth race after that, I would say. It was mainly just before the caution that was pretty hectic. So it became, and then eventually the last lap happened. The last lap was pretty eventful. I'd like to go through that. The last lap, it was pretty eventful. Drivers did not, they just
Yeah.
were unaware of
They
the rules. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I was gonna say that they were all together on the last lap. And
Yeah.
yeah, they were like you said, they were like I don't know, they were it was pretty action packed the last lap. And then the no scheme car ended up taking the win. And he won the last lap leading though. So, I don't know. With the draft setup, I think it was pretty you have a higher chance of winning at Daytona with that draft, but the developers fixed it. So yeah, pretty eventful last lap.
And coming to the line, I'd like to point out
Hmm.
Declan. He kind of created a chain reaction coming off turn number four down the front stretch.
Yeah,
Um, Declan
he
turned into the 12, and it caused a chain reaction. And he turned into the 12. The 12 hooked the 03, and he came spinning down the infield of the front stretch, flipping his
yeah.
car mid flipping, and just barely edged out in front of the other three cars to
Mhm.
get the win. And it was pretty surprising. Of course, it was took a little bit, but they got it called for him. So, I think
Yeah,
that was a pretty spectacular finish there
and
for D3.
also I'm pretty sure Declan, who caused the major wreck at the last lap, he was also supposed to lift earlier in the lap, which he did not. So I don't know if penalties are gonna come for him, but I don't think they are. But he was supposed to lift, so he did break the rules and caused a wreck. But it didn't affect the results at all. I don't think.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's pretty much wrapped up D3 at D3 here. So let's go ahead and move on to D2.
Um,
Uh yeah, I see it, it's fine. I don't mind. But anyway, moving on to Division 2, the Division 2 drivers much awaited. A lot of drivers participated. Started out pretty smooth. Drivers were primarily single file. So at the time, the Highland was still being worked on. So drivers used side draft to kind of form an outside lane here. And I believe it's number 2 and number 11. I want to point those two out. Those two tried a lot. Andy being a little too aggressive, but he still tried to form kind of an outside lane using side draft. Of course, now side draft is added. Not side draft. The outside lane is added. But I think those two, they definitely try to use side draft to kind of form an outside lane. So yeah, so it started up pretty smooth. Tawa with number 67 for Nitro Racing. They he was leading pretty much the whole before the caution. He led that whole segment there, but again, the caution came out. I believe what happened was the number 8 of Fly, of course, was reserved subbing for Cent, who was not able to show to the race. He Let me go and replay this. The number 8, he forced it 3 wide again, which is not a smart move to make going 180 at Daytona. I strongly advise against it, but he went 3 wide. Indy was on the outside. I don't think he was ready for the 8 car to kind of force it make it 3 wide there. He came down and just the 8 got into the 11, or the 8 got into the 1 car. Those are teammates, by the way. 11 came down the 8. 8 got to the 1 car, and the 1 car just got. I can't even describe it. He got just absolutely hard looking to the wall.
Yeah.
The 8 in 1 car, but caused the caution.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Indy got warned from it, but yeah, that caused the caution. If you want to go and continue, Doodle or.
I'll pass it over to Jason because I could not watch the race, so I don't have much knowledge on what happened.
All right, I'll probably just continue if Jason's okay with you. I'm going to.
Okay. Yeah, I'm still here.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. Well, again, after the caution came out, pits were open, of course. So that caution caused by Indy there completely eliminated the pit strategy. All the drivers would just come down pit road, get their stop of fuel and tires, and just eliminate the whole pit strategy of green flag pit stops. But things happen, and of course they just continued after that. So give me 1 second here, guys.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. Voice crack again. So anyway, after the caution happened, of course, pays back to the green flag. They went green. Tawa just continued to show utter dominance. Did not give up the lead about once, and came in to win the race. It just pretty dominant. Just came across the line and won the race. And the last lap, just replaying it now, there was a last lap crash. Tawa in front, and what happened was the 19, of course, the 2 laps prior was getting really, really racing, pretty aggressive now. So again, I would say the 2 and the 19 were getting really aggressive coming to the line. The 2 was forcing people. He was forcing the 45 twice down the line, and coming to the trioval, the number 2, was on the outside, and out of nowhere, I would say the number 19 just comes all the way to the top of the racetrack to make it 3 wide for second, and coming so close to the line, he just pulls it in, he just comes down the track and it causes a chain reaction. And instead of the driver at the bottom flipping, it was him that flipped. But Tawa still remained in the lead and got the win. So that's duel 1.
Yeah.
But now moving on, duel 2. Of course, duel 2 usually has a smaller field. So
Which it did with only 6 drivers, I think.
yes, 2 of each manufacturer, 2 Maple Motorsports cars, 2 Fast Area True Racing Motorsports cars, and 2 WBTR cars here. So yeah, Duel 2 kind of had a Tawa situation where he just continued to lead most of the laps, but instead of Tawa, it was Robloxian and his teammate of the 36 Tronics right behind him. Of course, the 2 True Racing Motorsports cars behind him. I need to get that down. It's not faster anymore. But anyway, 2 Maple Motorsports cars, stayed in front, and for primarily of the race until I believe there was a caution. Yes, there was a caution that happened. Let me clear my throat. Give me a second. Let me clear my throat here. Sorry about that. All right, sorry about that. I cleared my throat.
That's fine.
So there was a caution. It was on, I believe. Let me go back to it here.
Well, there was a caution pretty late in the race.
Yes, it was pretty
like
late in the race.
2
It
to
was,
go. Which I was, I don't. Was it overtime or did they call overtime or?
I believe it was 2 to go when the caution happened. I'm not sure. Yes, it was 2 to go when the caution happened. What happened was they were coming into turn number 3, Robloxian on the outside, and 36. Both of them were on the outside coming into turn number 3 and 4. The 9 and the 54. The 54 pushes the 9 car to get under the 9. The 39 randomly comes to the track on the outside and realizes the 9, he's right there, and he comes down to try to block it, but by then the 9 is there, and it's too late. He comes down on him and comes back up. I guess that's the physics there. He comes back up the track, hits a hard look on the wall, and that brings out the caution.
And also, oh well, continue.
Go ahead.
You can continue.
Okay, and that brings out the first overtime restart of the RRL season so far. So the restart lineup started with I believe yes, pits open after the pit cycle. Yeah, go ahead, go back. After the pit cycle, the lineup started as it believes the 54 of Will, the 99 of Overlord, the 7 of Sup, the 36 of Tronics, and the 39 of Robloxian. So after the caution, Robloxian managed to get a first to all the way to the back of the field, I believe. So, pretty sad for him, but he was not able to come out to the lead, and pretty sad. But anyway, on the restart, let's go ahead and take a look at that. I'll go ahead and walk you guys through it. So it was an overtime caution. Number 99 was able to stay up front. The majority of coming at 2 to go on the backstretch, but the move that put him out of the lead. Let me go ahead and get to it right here. Was the drivers? I mean, the whole race, the drivers had not really been trying to use the outside, but besides do 1, the 2, and the 11, but no one really decided to use the side draft to kind of form an outside lane. So the 7, 36, and kind of the 39 said, hey, let's see what the side draft thing will do. So they finally kind of got the hang of it. They went to the outside here, and it kind of started a little change, because if you get it down, you can use the side draft right, it will help you to get a lead and actually use just not the inside. The inside's not always going to be the dominant lane here. So if you use the side draft right. So the 36, 39 MR cars and the 7 car managed to use the side draft to kind of form an outside lane. And off turn number 4, I believe it was. Yes, off turn number 4, the 36 and the 39 and the 7 just barely managed to push number 7 of Sup NASCAR to the lead, and he was able to win the race. So that is that. That is Duel 2, and that is the conclusion of the Division 2
Yeah.
race.
And one
Yes.
person we didn't see in the field was Outery because he was moved up to Cup sometime in between the Clash and the Duels. In Xfinity, he was moved up to Cup from Xfinity.
Yes, he was moved up to Cup from Xfinity for kind of, I guess people would say, a over dominant driver in the Xfinity series. So put him
Yeah.
at more competition in the Cup series. So yeah, so that wraps up Division 2. Now
Mm-hmm.
the main division, the Cup series. If anyone wants to go ahead and start something primary, most of the talking here. If anyone wants to go ahead, talk.
You
Go.
you can start it again.
All
Um,
right, all right. So
I can do the like talking.
yeah, go. You can go ahead for Cup series. Give her what you know for the recap
Um,
of the race.
I watch. Uh, I watched them, but not in the game. But I think the Cup Series did. Driver did do it very nice in Heat 1 and Heat 2.
All right. Well, thanks for your take there. But
Oh.
basically, my little recap of the race here for the one. The Heat one started. Drivers got pretty racy in the first couple of laps, going 3 wide, 2 wide. But it stayed primary clean. The drivers didn't make any move that would wreck the field. And Halo for the past couple laps started out. He was leading out front. Made a little bit of questionable tries, made some questionable moves trying to hold off the lead here. So, the first caution did actually happen pretty early in the race, I believe. Yes, it was. I believe the number 4 of Rico spun. I believe someone clipped him, but he believe it might have been a self wreck, I think, but he did spin, causing the caution out to come out just 4 laps in to the the duel. Sorry, I almost said clash there. So yeah, after the caution, I believe, look at what pitted. So after the caution, there was basically, summed up, there was a ton of lag, and it was caused by, I believe, the server host, the server location. So a lot of drivers complaining about this. So a red flag was pulled to investigate and get the situation under control. After a ton of rejoins, a ton of frustration trying to get a new server location, the drivers and stuff like that, we were finally able to go back racing on, I believe, we're able to go back racing on lap. Let me go. We were able to go back racing on lap. We were able to go back racing on lap 7. Now, of course, the dual one had been shortened to 15 laps, leaving 8 laps to go. Number 2 of Ben, number 13 of V Colby, would lead the drivers to the green flag. So starting, came off the restart there. Dual 1 was back underway for the Heat 1 after the problem had been fixed. The more optimal racing situation was going on. Kobe had a pretty good lead starting out on lap 7. Was using both of the lanes of holding up the lead pretty well there. So he had been switching. Voice crack. Sorry, he had been switching both to the outside and to the inside. There. So now skipping a couple laps to about 3 to go. It's about three to go. Colby out, still in front. Got the 48 on his tail and the 2 on the outside. Trying to block both lanes. He did a pretty good job at blocking both lanes, I would say myself. Oh, give me a minute here. Yes, he did a pretty good job, blocking the cars behind him, switching from the outer part of the track to the inside part of the track. The number 5 on his tail, number 48 in the outside lane. Coming to 2 to go here. He was doing a pretty good job blocking the whole field. So what really changed from his lead was, I'm going to look here. The 16 was able to get to the front of the outside lane. Halo was really in the middle, and between them, he chose who he could get to the front, who he could push. Sorry, I could talk, I promise. So he chose to help the 16, of course, the 13 being on the inside, the 16 on the outside. He chose to help him. Of course, that might have been Toyota strategy. I'm not sure, but chose to help him, giving him a push. Kobe, with his help, a little bit, kind of about a car length behind him, when the 10 was right behind the 16. Try to get the side draft off the 16 to help him stay in his position there. Now coming off, let me look at it here. Coming off turn number 4, what gave his lead away was he was too, I would say he was too busy trying to get the side draft off the 16 that he wasn't all the way down the racetrack. This allowed the number 3 of Nick to get a run. And meanwhile, the 10 gives the 16 a push to come down and block the 13 of Colby. This puts him in a pretty weird spot. He has a 13, the 3 ahead of him, who was supposed to push him. He has a 3 ahead of him, the 16 right ahead of him, with the push of Halo. So he's in 3rd right now, in the middle of the track, with 2 cars ahead of him. And it's a white flag. The white flag's waving. White flag's waving, and the Nick, he's able to stay out in the front and get the lead, get the win. So that was a pretty anticlimactic finish there after all I said there, but it was pretty much that. So let's do Heat 1. I'm gonna quickly, for time's sake, I'm gonna go quickly try and do Heat 2 for you. The starting lineup was the number 22 and the 6, who would lead the drivers to the green flag. It was a pretty clean race, just single file most of the race. I believe it was a no caution race, if I'm certain. I believe it was a no caution race, if I'm certain. They had a red flag with about 2 laps to go. Number 11 and the 78 primarily dominated the race, I would say, pushing each other with little kind of a JR Racing in the ARCA Series situation here, with the number 29 of Smalls right behind him, number 9 of Jace, who was subbing as a reserve for Phil, who was not there that weekend. And for whatever reason, they went for the red flag. Eventually, the red flag was uplifted. Pits were open. I'm sorry, there's something in my... And pit road, when I tell you this, pit road, coming out pit road, everyone was down pit road. Pit road was a busy road. They went 4 wide in pit road. And it was, all I can say, it was hectic. Hectic. So, yeah. After the pit cycle, somehow the number 78 and the number 11 out front. Again, somehow. Proves that the Toyotas got something that, of course, no one else had, apparently, that race. So, it was going to be the second overtime. Go ahead, dude, if you had to say something.
Oh, well, I'll say it when you're done with the recap.
Yeah, right. Can we hurry up? I have another commentary for Racing League.
All right. Anyway, coming back, it was the second overtime. Of course, the Xfinity Heat 2 having its recap there. So it was green, and 11 came down a little bit on the restart. The number 78 was still able to hold it off, though. Of course, I did not mention this earlier. Number 78 was being subbed by an Xfinity driver of the same team. So he was subbing for him. I'm sorry for not mentioning that earlier. But anyway, the number 78 just held the inside with dear life as number 11 was given pushes. I cannot talk today. As the number 11 was pushing him, giving little pushes here and there, but he just held it inside for dear life and looked to pay out for him as he
Mhm.
come up forward to win the Heat 2 with a pretty dominating performance by the Toyotas
Yeah,
in
I,
general for
yeah,
the
I dominate again, like from the clash. So hopefully that like or the attitude continues into the 500 like it did in the clash and then also the duel. So hopefully it continues for them.
I mean, yeah. So now to go and wrap up the podcast here, we're gonna go over to picks for the 500. I'm gonna go in order of when they happen. So starting off with Cup.
Um,
Um, go ahead.
I'm gonna pick uh another Toyota, and I'm gonna pick let's see who's leading going into it. I'm gonna pick. I know. Actually, never mind. I'm not picking a Toyota. I'm gonna pick Outer. He came in from Xfinity, and I don't know. I just have a good feeling for the Fords as they did not do good in the duels, and they also did not do very good in the Clash. So I think the Fords are gonna shine, and Outer is gonna win.
For my pick, I'm gonna kind of go with an I guess a pick that you could I guess say. But I'm gonna go with V Kobe there. Try not to be biased, but I think V Kobe, he kind of was knocked. Everyone just kind of knocked him out of where he was. I think he was primarily dominating after the caution. So I'm gonna pick him. I'll look out for him. Jason, do you have your pick for D1? No. All right, we're gonna go ahead and move on to D2 then. So again, dude, if you go, you can go ahead give your pick first.
I'm probably gonna go with Tawa as I don't know. He was sort of dominant in Duel One, so I feel like he has a good chance in the 500.
For my pick, I am gonna agree with you. I'm gonna say Tawa. I mean, just off the pure domination of D2 at the duels, leading every lap of Heat One. I think that's some pretty good dominance. And I think when he gets to the front of, if he gets to the front, the Daytona 500, there's gonna be no stopping him. So I'm gonna go with Tawa.
Also, I would have my eye on the 11 of Indy because he was fighting up there too. And with the new draft, I think he's gonna have a really good shot.
All right. For Arca series to go and wrap it up here, you could go ahead and give two picks if you want to. I'm gonna go ahead and give two as well.
Um, I'm probably thinking.
I'm still here, guys.
Oh,
Oh, I
uh,
thought you were AFK.
No,
Uh,
I
do
was.
you have a
What?
do you have a pick for the Xfinity series?
Um, no.
All right, well, go ahead, Doodle then.
I'm gonna pick the number 2 of Korean, and I'm gonna pick uh Timmy too. Uh, Korean was pretty. He helped his teammates, and Tim was out front for most of the race, and he was dealing with all those drivers that were being sort of dirty to him. So I think he has a pretty good shot.
My picks to wrap up the podcast here. I'm gonna go and give it. I'm gonna agree with you. I'm gonna say Korean, just off the fact that he is a very dominant driver there after the
Mm-hmm.
clash, coming back from the little mistake he had and coming back all the way to first to win the clash, and for the duels, the ability to push his teammates and not be selfish. And my second pick is I'm gonna kind of go with the very unpopular pick. I'm gonna go with the 21 of Dragon. I'm gonna say that not he was not on the duels, but I think he has one of the traits with Korean. I think he can push his teammates. He knows how to work with his teammates. And I think that's gonna be
Mm-hmm.
pretty crucial in the 500. So look out for
Yeah,
him.
but also some people that I think were leaving out of this is the people that got wrecked earlier in the race. Because there were no cautions, and I'm pretty sure around like 3 cars got wrecked, so we didn't really get to see them race against other drivers. But we'll look for that in the Daytona 500.
My pit is
All right.
the Bill and Will Blockmaster.
I'm talking about the ARCA series here. Or
Oh,
if that's a D1 go, that's fine.
my apologies.
All good, all good. So if you don't have any ARC series picks, we can go ahead and wrap it up here.
I'm thinking I'm a driver. I can't pick any prediction.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for watching the podcast. I know it's kind of not as exciting. Just had to get a quick one in before the weekend of the 500. So thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you. Make sure you tune in for RBN on RBN for this week's races here to officially start. I would say officially start the season for RRL.
Yep.
Yep.
All right.
See you guys. Cup Series will be tomorrow. Saturday will be at 30, and Sunday will be at Arca. Those will be the schedule for RL this season.